Perfectionism, creating a happy life after the age of 60. Creating a happy life after the age of 60. Perfectionism is unnecessary. Hello, you all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well, I got to thinking about the topic of perfectionism and how perfectionistic standards in all areas of our lives can often slow us down from the dreams and happiness that we truly, truly want. I do believe that sometimes we have to have perfectionistic standards about specific areas of life. I always say if you're a brain surgeon, then you need to be, be a perfectionist about what you do. And yet, perhaps that same brain surgeon would not be a perfectionist in the other areas of his life that don't matter. And so, yeah, there's times that we do need to have perfectionistic standards, but those I think are far more rare than the other in our lives. I think sometimes perfectionism can hold us back. It can hold us back from our best lives because, well, we've set the bar so high that most people can't jump through that hoop. Relationship wise, most jobs are not perfect, and so we're going to look for perfectionistic standards on that job. We want a perfect job, and maybe they exist, maybe they don't exist, but I haven't found one. And so what I've often done is created a happy life even with imperfection around me. I've had jobs that were very imperfect, but I loved those jobs. My relationships are not always perfect. The people in them are not always perfect, including me. And yet I have high standards and they have high standards, and it's all good. But we don't have perfectionistic standards in our relationships. And so I think people that often hold other people at perfectionistic standards often either don't have relationships, or sometimes their relationships can be very, very challenging, difficult, and unhappy. I once knew an older gentleman who was very successful, and he was perfectionistic within his profession, and probably that was a good thing. And yet in his personal relationships, he was not successful because he held relationships to such a perfectionistic standard that most people didn't want to live up to that. I know I didn't, and I would not have wanted to. And so I really, really think that perfectionism for me is reserved for specific areas, but not for all areas. And I think most happy lives are also often imperfect lives. And so my life is not perfect in every single way, and I have a wonderfully, beautiful, happy life. When I come on here and I make these YouTube videos, sometimes I make noise when I'm moving the camera, and there's a little jiggle, and there's a little wiggle, and there's a little noise. Sometimes my lighting is not so good. Sometimes my makeup is not so good. Sometimes I get off on other subjects, but that's okay. That's okay. I'm not looking to have perfectionistic standards about my YouTube channel. I just want a wonderful YouTube channel. And so it's that way I live in life. My standards for those around me, my standards for going to college. I started college this past year, and I have to drive in and then deal with traffic and all that goes with going to college. And if I had perfectionistic standards, that could defeat me. My GPA at the end of the semester was really good, and yet I'm not holding myself to that same standard into the next semester because I'm taking a very heavy load of courses. So I'm not going to have a perfectionistic goal of like, oh, I've got to maintain that GPA. I would like to, I'll strive for that, but it's not necessary as long as I feel that I'm doing my very best and I'm doing well. So I don't have to have perfectionism going to college at age 62. And I think a lot of older people can get into perfectionism. They can, the older they get, the more, the things have to be a certain way. And that can really work against them over the age of 60, especially. And I have friends over the age of 60 that are very much into perfectionism. And I think it kind of messes up their life, And I have other friends over the age of 60 that are not perfectionistic and have wonderful, amazing lives. So I think it depends on what we're talking about. If you have a specific skill or trade or something that you have to do that requires perfectionism, I'm all for perfectionism. But to carry it over into all areas of our lives, well, I don't think it's necessarily necessary. You know what I mean? And I mean, like, I love perfect windows. I love shiny windows. I could be neurotic. I love, love, love my windows shined. But I have to say to myself, is that necessary for me to be happy? Do I have to have perfect windows or a perfectly clean car all the time? Does it have to just be perfect? Or can I be comfortable with it a little bit imperfect? And I have found that I'm a lot happier with imperfection than I am with perfection. So I thought I'd talk about that today. And I hope you subscribe to my channel. And I hope to talk to you all soon. So from my house to your house, God bless you. And I'll talk to you then. Bye-bye.